In this video, I'm going to introduce you to some of the differences between the host perspective on the one hand and the participant perspective on the other in Adobe Connect. Now I've just logged into the room that I use to test things out in. So this isn't actually the Adobe Connect room that we would use in class, but it's extremely similar in setup. And I am logged in as a host. Notice over in the attendees pod there I am as a host. And in this video, I'm going to show you the differences, basically in the overall layout of the host view as compared with the view of the participant. Now, the first thing I'm going to do is point out, look at all these items over here on the left. Meeting, layouts, pods, audio, the speaker, the microphone, your webcam, and of course the little man with the hand there. Now I'm going to shift into the participant view, and when I do that, and I'm going to do that by going over to my name here, clicking on it, and I'm going to drag my name down to participant. Watch what happens to the menu on the top left-hand corner. If I can actually get into the participant area, there I am. Look what's happened. Normally, when I open up the room as a host, when you would come in as a participant, this is actually all you should see. It's simply meeting with only a couple of options here, a few things like the audio setup wizard, which we've talked about before. And then, of course, the speakers can be muted or not, and then the little guy with the hand. Now, when you have been coming in, you have also seen the microphone icon, and you've seen the webcam icon. And I'll show you why. I'm going to go move back up as host. And here's what I do when I first log in. I log in, whatever room I log into, this is the menu that I have. First, I connect my audio. I'm not going to do that right now. The next thing I do is I go over to the audio menu and I say microphone rights for participants. That means anyone who enters the room now as a participant will have the microphone icon there for them to see and for them to click on to enable their audio. Now watch over on the right. I'm going to go back down to the participant view. And you can see now I'm a participant, and there's my microphone icon, and I can connect my audio. Okay. Going back up into the ethereal parts of Adobe Connect, back up at the host level. Now the next thing I do, to make it easier for everybody to get into the room properly, is I go over to my webcam, and I click to get the menu, and I hit Enable Webcam for Participants. Now I've done that, and that means that when you log in, you will not only see the Connect My Audio, the microphone icon, but you'll also see the web camera. And again, I'll drop down into the participant view, and there, if I were logging in as a participant now, I would have these things. And this is what you see when you come into our Adobe Connect classroom. And that's why it looks the way it does. Now let's go back up to the top, the hosts here, and I just want to go over a few of the menu items very, very briefly and things about the interface that are a little bit different. And then we'll look at things in more detail, especially the pods and things like that, in subsequent videos. So under Meeting, I have quite a lot of options. You will only have a couple as a participant. But I can manage the information about the meeting. I can manage who can get in and who cannot get in. I can change my role. This lets me, this is another way for you to change your role. There's 2 or 3 different ways. Actually, there's 3 different ways that I know of to change your role if you're a host. The preferences is very interesting because this allows the host to set up the room in any way that they want. I'm not going to go into any detail, actually, on this in this video. Going back up to the meeting, there's the audio setup wizard. One of the ways you can record a meeting is to click here and it will start to record the meeting for you. It'll give you a chance to give the meeting a name, then you click again, and it will record the meeting. Prepare mode is a way that you can be in the classroom doing things, and other people entering or not entering will not disturb what you're doing. And then enable presenter only area. And I do want to talk about that in a subsequent video, because that's a very important, nice little feature to know about and to be able to use. Let's take a look at layouts. I can create a new layout, but you might ask, well, what is a layout? A layout is what you are looking at here. We have the Start My Webcam thing, we have the attendees pod, a poll, chat, discussion notes. Go over to the far right. Whenever you create a new meeting room in Adobe Connect, you get a sharing layout, a discussion layout, a collaboration layout. And then you can copy these, you can add to them, you can modify these any way that you want. You can also just create a brand new one by going to Layouts, going here, and you can start with a blank layout, or you can duplicate one that already exists. You can give it a name, and then you'll have that new layout in your room to use whenever you want to. I'm going to go ahead and cancel because I don't want to actually create a new layout. I can shift to the sharing layout, to the discussion layout that I'm already at, to the collaboration layout, and I made a new discussion one that I just called Discussion New, and I can shift to that. I can do the same thing just by clicking over here, which is a lot easier. This allows me to manage the layouts. This will reset everything to the default settings. So if you get your layout so messed up and you go, oh man, how do I get back to the way it was? I wish I hadn't done any of this. Just click this, it resets them all to the default settings. And this will close the layout bar over here. As a host, I like to have it open. From the participant view, of course, you can't actually see that. Now, we're going to get into this in more detail when we start the videos about the pods. But here, as a host, you can add as many of these pods as you want. We'll show you how they all work in subsequent videos. Now, when we come to audio, there's really not a lot that's new. Enable single speaker mode really is not relevant for us. Audio conference is if you're trying to set something up where people are trying to telephone in. Again, that's beyond the scope of what we're doing in this course. Now, the speaker is going to be just the same. There's nothing new here. You can mute your speakers, and that way you can't hear anything. At times maybe that might be a good thing. Over here for audio, of course, you can connect your audio. You can, of course, select your microphone. I'm using the blue snowball right now, but again, I'm not trying to do anything in the room other than show you things. This icon doesn't change very much. You've already seen this feature. If you have more than one camera, you can select the camera. And there are some preferences here that you don't really need to worry about. And over here, this is all exactly the same as in the participant view. Over on this side, things are pretty much, again, the same. For help, I think you might have a few extra features, but you may not. And of course, this is telling me my connection status is excellent. Really no different than as a participant. Now, in the next video, we're going to start looking at pods. And we're going to look carefully first at the attendees pod and see how you can work with it in Adobe Connect as a host.